So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
It's a new season of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series, once again supported by simrigs.com and once again broadcast to you live on SimSpeed TV, one of the most competitive GT leagues in Australia, with a constant rolling balance of performance that shows us a great variety of the different machinery on offer. We're so excited to be back for another season, supported by simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Super Cheap Auto, Achuga Toyota, and Index Designs. And you can have race cars, but you've got to go racing somewhere. And we're at Silverstone circuit. Very new, very shiny, great pit building. And one of the changes this season, Pass 2 now in GT4 cars. So we really get that warm-up feeling as we go through all of tonight's racing. And for all of tonight's racing, I'm David Haynes, joined by Jay Kennedy.
Hello, Mr. Haynes. Thank you for having me in the comms box for at least the first week. This is going to be fun. I'm glad that AusPass is back. It's been a little bit too long, but it should be a fantastic season. And what a great track to start the season off, albeit a week later than we originally planned.
Yeah, sure. Some things are outside of everyone's control, but we're delighted to be racing. And this is where I always sort of think of it as sort of smack bang in the middle, but actually it's a little further south than that, a little south of Birmingham. Donington's a lot more UK Midlands. Silverstone, of course, half in one county, half in the other. Hello, Lawrence Stroll's factory up there. It's a very high-speed circuit, generally speaking. Long straights on the pit straight through the fast turn one, long Wellington straight. You've got the old pit straight. You carry a lot of speed from there through the famous Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel complex of corners, challenging fast change of direction in any car, downforce or not, slicks or not. And then the Hangar straight into a great overtaking opportunity at Stowe. And that's your lap, 5.9 kilometers of it, a paltry 300 meters short of Bathurst's fantastic 6.2 kilometers. But it will treat us well, no doubt. You almost forget how flat it is because it does produce great racing from all of those other segments we've talked about.
100%. It always brings about some great racing. Should be some great opportunities for overtaking in our GT4 class that we'll see up first. It's going to be very, very fun to see the challenge of GT4 out there as well. Race 1 should be around about 5 laps, and then we'll see probably a 9-lap race 2, but qualifying is underway at the moment. And it's rather competitive out there with some names that we will know from previous seasons of AusPass and other series here at SimSpeed. Lots of new names as well, which is cool to see.
Yep, a couple of new models in the GT4 class. Looking at one of the Mercedes AMGs at the moment, but there is Porsches, McLarens, BMWs, etc. available. And as we go on through the season, all of them should find a track that suits them, should find their stride with the rolling balance of performance. There is one of the Porsche Caymans in the hands of Lee van den Berg. Currently top of qualifying. 16 drivers of 24 have a time. And it is a pretty big lap to try to squeeze some lap times, some flying laps into a 2-minute session, a 10-minute session, I should say, on account of, you can see lap times are over 2 minutes, pretty lengthy out lap, and lots of places with some paved runoff where I suspect you could go a little wide and have your lap time deleted. That final corner, probably one of them. That's right on board. A little improvement from Lee van den Berg.
Did that lap count? I don't think it counted in the end there. So maybe you ran a little bit wide on that last corner, as you said.
Possible. So many places that could happen. Not just the final corner, but Also at Cops, at the exit of Chapel, the exit of Stowe as well. That's what about the track being pretty flat, but there is definitely some off camber in some places like Stowe Corner, for example. Looking at one of the Mercedes, relatively recent on iRacing. And Seth Brown in Pursuit Sim Racing 500. It's white on your screen. It's very white in our lower third graphic. But for him, I don't think this lap's going to count. So he stays out of the way of what looks like it could be one of your pole sitters.
I don't think he's going to get back around in time because remember, running heat format, hard cut off at the end of the session, so probably won't have time to come around and do another lap. Simon Mazzomo on a good one here.
Hard cuts, keep it punchy like Bus Bros.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the kids would. The Mez, though, this is going to be his last lap in qualifying, gets a bit of that exit sausage curb. None on the final little kink, and he comes to the timing line. Where does the 9.54 go?
Goes up a spot to 10th.
Indeed it does. The Porsche seems to favour tracks with longer corners, maybe slightly slower tracks. This is very much a horsepower track to kick off the season. But no, with that said, Lee Vandenberg still got pole position in his Porsche, although I would imagine this to be a little more of a BMW Mercedes track. I can see a Aston Martin out there as well, so GT4 very well populated with different choices, and all of them should be a good choice in this championship, the way they run the balance of performance.
Yeah, we should see a bit of a mix throughout the whole season, so fingers crossed that's how it plays out. But yeah, the plan is to have every single class of car have an opportunity to win races at pretty much every track, and we should, fingers crossed, see all of the different manufacturers towards the pointy end throughout the season. But picking the right car is definitely a tough decision. Jason Bentz goes P1 right at the end of the session here.
That he does, 2.5 tenths over Lee Vandenberg, so very good late lap time from Jason Bentz. Here is Hilton Booth, long-time competitor in Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. 007 is a good car number for an Aston Martin, that's for sure. And a 2:14.0 as his best. That's qualifying. That'll lock them in for the first race. And a top 10 invert into the feature race after this heat as well. So qualifying straight in to the heat with a front row of Jason Benson, Lee Vandenberg, Seth Brown and Brady Buchanan for Mercedes on row number two, pardon me. Timothy Fabian, Pat Gallo, row number 3. A lot of those Porsches that we expect to see racing. Sean Lacey, Adam Hillmotion, the first McLaren, Robert McGrath and Michael Spithill are row 5. All Mercedes there. Porsche Simon Mazzomo, we had a look at in qualifying. Then Matt Hardigan in the Mercedes will start 12th on the grid for what will be a 2-wide rolling start. Matthew Gerard in an Aston Martin. Sam Batty for Drop Bear Motorsport in the Porsche. Another Porsche there for Mark Cochran, Apex Esports League, and Hilton Booth in that 007 Aston Martin. Neil Goldwyn, Jack Swainpole are 17th and 18th on the grid. And then the last drivers with qualifying times, it looks like, are Stu Brown, Paul Longworth, and Greg Panson. For Simon Dwyer, that is a time. But how does one even have a lap time at that speed that doesn't involve a spin or going off track? Was that an outlap that somehow counted? I'm confused about it, but regardless, it puts him on the grid ahead of drivers without qualifying times.
Going to be interesting to see how the racing plays out in this class as well, because it's the first time I've seen it obviously in AusPass Not the first time I've seen GT4 racing, but definitely the first time in AusPass. So this is going to be very, very fun to watch. Going to be very, very interesting to watch as well. 10 minutes on the clock for race 1, and then, as you said before, there'll be an invert for race number 2. But the first GT4 race in AusPass is about to go green.
It is. The safety car pulls in a long way before the starting zone and before the green flag of the race. That's one to keep an eye out on for sure. Green flag waves, and the inside line of the start gets a very strong start compared to the outside. The number 100 of Jason Bent's middle of the road as they all stream into turn 1 for the first time. A little bit of contacts behind. Everyone still nose in front of tail except Matt Hardigan, who's going to go for a loop through the outfield. Oh, Bent's the pole sitter.
That doesn't look healthy for his car. Another car off. I think that's Sean Lacey. Is it facing the wrong way? So after a relatively clean first couple of corners, it's just all unloaded with cars going off everywhere. And Seth Brown has broken away to a 1.5 second advantage already.
Very, very quick turns 1 and 2 do funnel into a big concertina effect at what's effectively double hairpins in the loop section. And we saw that be the cause of a little bit of chaos. And there's a loop for one of the Porsches. Pat Gallo got very close behind the car in front. The concertina effect saw him lose the rears on cold tyres. Sam Batty in another Porsche around. It seems to be a car struggling on the cold tyres at the start of this 10-minute race. 27 degrees Celsius is the track temperature. Seth Brown leads, building an advantage over second, third, and fourth Brady Buchanan, Timothy Fabian, and Simon Mazzomo. Side by side, a Mercedes and an Aston just there. You can go side by side very comfortably initially. Then it funnels down a little closer to single file as you approach the right-hand chapel corner here. All these GT4 cars with speed in different places. And boy, does it show. Looking like a bit of a jet in a straight line for the McLaren of Adam Hill Motion.
He's definitely making his way forward pretty quickly, isn't he? He's doing a good job of that. We'll get some replays of the race start in just a moment as well, because we need to sort of try and dissect and work out what actually happened to Bentz. I can see as well he's got a mechanical black flag is up the inside there. James Swanpole. Did he just take 2 full 1 as around goes Hill Motion?
Hill Motion. Yeah, gets tagged. Goes for a pirouette, tries to get it going again. There's a decent first gear in that McLaren because it's got 7. A Mercedes around as well is Neil Gladwin. And he's going to have to wait a long time. So a lot of shake-up from the GT4s on their first lap of Silverstone completed, and it's got a good start, a good turn 1 and 2, and then here into 3. Oh, himself, cold tires. He's fighting it all the way through the apex, and a few drivers have been tempted into overdriving before the tires were up to pressure.
Well, and Brady Buchanan's got away with that pretty well, considering he was the car that made contact with the car of Jason Bentz. He's got away with that all right. He's got a little bit of damage to the front, but still maintaining a bit of a gap back to Timothy Fabian, but Simon Mazzomo starting to close in pretty quickly.
Yep, drivers fighting their rhythm, finding their tyre temperatures and pressures, which in past have been very, very difficult on cold tyres in these GT4 machines. Mazzomo looking like he might have a look. There's no way that Timothy Fabian isn't losing straight line speed with all the damage on the nose of his car. But he will hold off Mazzomo through the corners here. We'll see if he can maintain that on the hanger straight. Oh, there's a dummy on the side of that car.
Yeah, it's covered in dummies.
Oh,
Love
dear.
it.
Not seeing the difference in straight line speed I expected to see between Fabian and Mazzomo based on the damage on the leading car there. See an interesting pattern to his brake lights for sure. Not going to get through there, Mez. I reckon he's got a brake pedal that's just sticking on
Yeah, the brake light's definitely coming on in spots that they shouldn't. So
Get that compressed canned air into the
yep,
load cell or something.
need to work on something. Through goes Mizomo.
Clean
And
the cat hair out of your Logitech G27 spring.
definitely need to sort something out.
I've got a cat that sheds really weird hair. I'll clean out blue hair from things. It's like, how'd that get there?
Yeah. Your cat's causing the blue hair, I'm sure. This is an interesting fight here now, and James Swanepoel starting to close in too. He's starting to close that gap down very, very quickly.
Sure is. Hill Motion's having an exciting time in the background of shot there as well in a 5-way fight, but side by side still the Porsches go in the battle over the podium spot. Mizomo, has he got it now that he's to the inside for the long right-hander here? There's no way that Febin is giving up on this, but I think Mizomo has just about managed it. I swear the damage looked worse on Febin earlier, or maybe it was one of his teammates. There's a few cars out there in that same livery. Mizomo is middle of the old pit straight, looking to defend it. Jack Swanepoel right in with them in that Mercedes, strikes a dominating pose.
Got some great momentum, doesn't he? But not able to use it at this stage. He's going to have to work harder to get that spot. There's only going to be 2 laps to go at the line in this first race, so it's going by very, very quickly. This battle at the front, very, very tight. There is another little battle going on as well. Michael Spithill trying to close in and potentially get a move here on our one and only Aston Martin there of Matthew Gerard. Sorry, there's 2 Aston Martins now, I see. Actually, there's a lot. We look back further. I'll just shut up about that. I'll shut up.
That's Hilton Booth, I think, behind.
It is too, yes.
One of the other ones.
Evans lost a spot. Look at these brake lights.
Well, the iRacing on-screen graphics will very handily tell you if you're dragging the brake, showing your pedal inputs, and if there's just a 0.5% that's staying on when your foot's off the pedal. On the old Logitech G27 brakes, you could often it'd help you have them not stick if you put the stiffer springs in. So stiffer brakes, stiffer throttle, and of course that would help it not stick on when your foot was off the pedal. It's no fun when your foot's off the pedal and the throttle's stuck open, Jay.
That would imply that I've been racing, so I don't remember. But yes, you're right. It's not fun when those sort of things happen. This is also bringing those guys that we just saw the fight before, McGrath and Cochrane. They're closing in a little as well. So this little gap for Febin is... Oh, that's a big mistake there from Swanepoel. May lose this spot back to Timothy Febin.
Mercedes looks to be driving well off the corners, so he sort of parked it in the middle of the long corner, and then you can still drive off well. Zomo hunting down Buchanan. Buchanan with no hope of hunting down your leader, Seth Brown. A dominant lead for him at the moment as the time rapidly ticks away. And I'm not sure our grid was particularly representative of race pace at all, knowing that the drivers maybe only had 3 or 4 flying laps, and track limits can be such an issue here. Here's Aston Martin versus Aston Martin. Booth trying to go around the outside of the first part of Maggots and Beckett's, but he's run it wide. He's carried too much speed in, touched the grass, but he still might be able to line up an exit here onto Chapel. I think the Mercedes, that's what's underneath the skin. It says Aston Martin on the badges, though. They're still going to fight all the way down the Hangar Straight.
They are indeed. Actually, just going to cut away for a moment because have a look at this. 2nd and 3rd is on now. Mizomo's closed down on Brady Buchanan. And the Porsche of Mizomo might be able to get this done. Oh, big error from Buchanan. Makes heavy contact, and he's going to have to sacrifice that spot. May lose another.
That thing plowed on the way in, and then looked like the rear got shaken up with the hip-to-hip contact as well. Mizomo into 2nd, Buchanan 3rd. Chuck Swanepoel has found his strength in 4th, and Fabin still holding on with them in 5th. It will be the final lap of race number 1. One more race to come in Pass 2 for these GT4 cars, and it will have a top 10 invert. So we saw Booth and Maguire battling over that 10th place, Aston Martin versus Aston Martin. Well, that's a very, very important 10th place if you can get it.
100% means so much in this series. The 10th place will give you that important pole position if you got great pace. Couldn't quite show it. Oh, she's just seen a couple of drivers off at the back of the field. We've got Sean Lacey off again, and just saw Kyle Gretsch off as well. So a couple of drivers at the back going off. Yeah, that 10th spot, so crucial. And if you haven't had a great first race, it's a great way to get yourself back into the points if you haven't had a good night so far.
Whatever the size of the invert, whether it's top 8, top 10, top 20, I think it's fair to say you always want to be, you'd rather be in that than out of it. You'd rather take a race win and then have to start 20th, or, you know, scramble your way into 20th and get a reverse grid pole position than be finishing 21st. I mean, starting 21st. Whichever way you slice it, you either, you know, have a good run in race 1 and then have some work to do in race 2, or you have a decent enough run in race 1 and you're suddenly in a great position to fight in race number 2. Last time down the hanger straight for this group, and Seth Brown has left them for dust. He looks like he's going to maybe win this even by 8 or 9 seconds. No one take pit entry. That wouldn't be fair. Good. And Mazomo, Buchanan, Swainpool, Fabian going to fight their way to the checkered flag, but Seth Brown will open up a new era of Pass 2 in style. First GT4 winner.
And the rest of that group looks like it will finish as it was. Actually, Timothy Febin has got James Swampole at the last corner there, so a bit of driving. Still some battle packs going on back in the field, but it doesn't look like there's going to be too many overtakes throughout this group. Great first showing for the season, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of the night is going to play out after the racing we've seen so far. But, a few drivers having a little bit of bad luck through the night, though.
A lot happening in a bunch of places. Rub my eyes. We're not looking at Chaz Mostert there, are we? Sure looks like it. But it's the 63 Greg Panton who couldn't quite get Stuart Brown. Looks like the WAU livery, Jay. I know it's not.
I knew what you were trying to say.
Good. Well, there's the finishing order of race number 1, knowing that there's still an invert to come into race number 2 in a moment. No, that's not. That's qualifying.
It is qualifying. Let me fix that up. Try that.
Yeah,
that looks better.
Right,
that looks better.
Right. Monkey on a typewriter. Seth Brown takes the win from Simon Mazomo and Brady Buchanan. Timothy Fabian, Jacques Swanpool, Mark Cochran, Robert McGrath, Matthew Spithill, Michael Spithill, Matthew Gerard, and Hilton Booth complete the top 10. Hilton Booth is going to start on pole for race number 2. Then comes pole sitter Lee Vandenberg from race number 1, finishing in 11th, so no pole position for him again. And then Aaron Maguire, Adam Hill Motion, Pat Gallo, Kyle Gretsch, Stu Brown, Greg Panton, Paul Longworth, Sam Batty, Neil Gladwin. It was Sean Lacey, Jason Bentz, Matthew Hardigan, and Simon Dwyer. So I was wrong what I said just a couple seconds ago, but for both Jason Bentz and Lee Vandenberg, big pace in qualifying, absolutely not delivering in race 1.
That was a fun first race, though, for the season to kick off, and we're going to have lots of action here tonight when we get to the Pro-Am series. It's going to be very, very eventful as well between the two classes of Pro and Am on this very same track. It's a really cool format for the season. I think the schedule also looking very, very good. Actually, just realised I can actually bring that up on screen with the adjustment from last week. We do have an updated schedule, and it is this.
There are we at Silverstone. Next week at Sebring, week after that at Zandvoort. So we've compressed from bi-weekly?
No, still the same, still weekly. Just extended. So Barcelona was due to be tonight. We've put that at the end of the season to replace and move Silverstone because everyone had done practice for Silverstone last week, and that now means that the schedule round 8 is probably the round I'm looking forward to, and fingers crossed I'll be here for it.
Yeah, interesting. Still 2 wildcard rounds as well, where we put the GT3, GT4 machinery aside to something a little wacky, and you can see Enduro round at Sebring and on the Nürburgring 24-hour Nordschleife layout. That's got to be Gesamtstrecke.
I believe
great
so,
circuits.
yes.
A couple of new ones, of course. Manicourt, new to iRacing. Belial, we've had a while. Sebring, of course, has been touched up, made all shiny and new as well. So that one will look good and sell CPUs and graphics cards. They're gridding up for race number 2. Their second of 2 races, the past 2. And is that an all Aston Martin front row? It sure is. Lawrence Stroll can only dream.
All Aston front row, all Mercedes second row, and then
Very short
Gets
pace
mixed
lap
up
here as
from
well,
there.
so everyone's got to get off the grid quickly to form up properly. And a lot of these race cars don't get away from a standing start well. Clutch isn't designed for it. Quite a tall first gear on some, like the Porsche Cayman, for example. Pace car is in the field, bunching up. Are they going to be a little more careful this time around? We wait and see. A few of them sure looked like a handful. Track temperature about the same, 27 Celsius, 23 in the air. All the Brits will have their shirts off, no doubt. Tiny bit of a breeze as well. Waiting on the green flag, Hilton Booth is the pole man in the green and yellow Aston Martin, and he doesn't react quickly, and from immediately behind him, Michael Spithill pulls out from the second row of the grid to maybe lead the field through turn number 1. Massive funnel effect through the apex of 1. Cars 3 wide, and we've got 2 of them off. Robert McGrath and someone else. They spear away from the racing line, and if everyone else can keep their head, we'll get underway calmly.
Yeah, Pat Gallo was the other car that we saw off in the background there. Seth Brown hasn't had a great start. Remember, he won the first race. He's only gained 1 spot, but Simon Mazzomo's already up into 5th position, so he's gained a couple already and already applying pressure to Matthew Gerard, but that wasn't a great start with Michael Spithill taking huge advantage right at the start.
Yeah, from that pole, Hilton Booth suddenly back into 3rd, side by side once again here as Mazzomo looks to get round the outside of Gerard. Gets to the inside of him for the next corner, a move that worked pretty well for him in the previous race, and a wiggle from the Aston. Looks to cement the move. That is Lee Vandenberg next up to try to pick and choose who he wants to slipstream off. He's got a buffet, a real British carvery in front.
So another car slow. Brady Buchanan from second in race 1 is now way back in the field.
Versus it back on the pit exit to try to find some tarmac to get him going. That's going to cost him big. It's a 20-minute race, so a little more time to make up for mistakes than we had in the 10-minute opening race, but still a sprint race, no doubt. Onto the hangar straight, all the different GT3 models slipstreaming with different power deliveries, different engine types, different gear ratios, different aero configurations. And Cayman not looking like it hooked up how Vandenberg would have wanted in behind Gerard and Mazzomo. Taking a look then at the issue, just too much speed, too much steering, not enough grip.
He was probably pushing it a little bit hard into the
Very
corner after
similar
missing the apex.
To what the pole sitter did in race number 1 in turn 3 as well. It just looked a little bit, oh, no grip there.
Yeah, very, very similar, wasn't it? It's a strange little incident, but unfortunate to see that happen. It's been another big incident. Just
motion backward in the gravel. The leader of Michael Spithill has a bit of a wobble there as well. These Mercedes, very, very twitchy till they get up to pressure. But what has happened in turn number 1, Gerard rolling backwards out of the way of the pack. He's in turn number 3. One of them's called Loop, one of them's called Village. I can't remember. More problems with Buchanan as well.
There's a farm somewhere there too, isn't there?
Oh, probably. races the lead, though. There's nothing between them. Spithill, a great jump on that race start. He was wits about him in the right position as well. He got himself a very nice bit of track position to have more race pace over the likes of Fabian and Hilton Booth and those behind. It's not seeming like it. Track limits on the exit of 1 are difficult. And this is what happened for Hill Motion and others through turn number 1. Hill Motion's the driver in the McLaren. Nope. I think it's car number 3 of Paul Longworth that doesn't have the front grip he desired, didn't get to an apex, and had Hill Motion on the outside.
What's happened here to Buchanan to cause him to slow down? Oh, he's just hit too much curb.
Yep, clip of curb in turn 1. Those Mercedes looking very, very loose in the rear on cold tyres. Hilton Booth around. And that's, sorry, Simon Dwyer. Same livery, isn't it? It is. Except with their names written on the side like a McLaren when they couldn't advertise cancer.
I mean, they weren't literally advertising cancer, but you're right. They were advertising stuff that would give you cancer. Robert McGrath, that's a strange place to be facing the wrong way.
It's that Vale and Club. Various driver... Oh, I was so worried he was going to beach that.
I thought he was for a second too.
Various assistances on these cars make it difficult to flick spin them around. They got traction control. It doesn't help you going sideways, though, like Michael Spithill has from the lead of the race.
Where's that happen? That's it.
Zomo and Fabian side by side for the lead as well, challenging. So Spithill vacates the seat, and suddenly it's going bonkers at the front of the feature race in Pass 2, crossing back over underneath amongst each other. Just overdriven it.
No. Oh, yes, he has actually.
Yeah, he's done it himself. He's caught the dirt, had a wiggle, maybe been helped around after that, but he started it. Started driving it a little bit too much, getting the rear wheels out into the dirt. Car's already looking pretty loose. This is your top 6 and nothing to separate them. It might even be just 1 second for all of them at the moment. 1.4 seconds for the top 5. We ride with Seth Brown in 500. 4th place, staring at the back of Hilton Booth. Fabian in 2nd. Zomo in 1st. Lee Vandenberg's gone around.
He was in that lead group too. He was right on the tail, so that's disappointing for him.
Yeah, I think he's spun it from 5th or 6th.
Yeah, he was 5th. He was just behind, literally behind this group.
Oh, got sandwiched with the checkup of Swanpool and Seth Brown, maybe.
Spithill trying to make his way back through. Not quite close enough. Sam Batty almost gets cleaned up there by Matt Hardy, and who has to abort, loses a spot.
Together, Gerard around. Well, at least I'm seeing the same livery for both of them on Trading Paints, or at least I think I was. Someone else involved there as well. A couple of Astons go round at Stowe. Or was I mistaken with the Porsche? Porsche was down the inside and then just trying to avoid it, taking a different line. It happens like that sometimes, doesn't it? Battle for the leads, the top of your screen. Great run from Simon Mazomo. Fabian had the lead. Mazomo's in his happy place here, I think, to go around the outside at the end of the straight to have the inside for the hairpin.
They had enough of a gap to potentially have broken the draft as well for Seth Brown, but the side-by-side is going to bring him back into it. They had it out to 1.3 seconds at the start of the Wellington Straights, now down to around 8/10. So they're going to have to work hard to try and break the draft. But Mazomo, great momentum coming down the old front straight, the old main straight, the old pit straight. He's now leading this race by enough to be able to catch his breath.
Support paddock there as Hilton Booth uses all of the runoff, trying to stay with the slipstream that seems pretty important, pretty strong for these GT4 cars. All the different lines on show through Maggots, Beckett's. Fabian carries a lot more speed in, but you can see Seth Brown really setting up just to punch the throttle on that final application out of Chapel and onto the straight, and he has good speed right in behind Fabian.
Out of this group, Brown probably has the best pace. I mean, we saw how well he did in race 1, but the start just wasn't good enough, and Mazomo was able to check out a tiny little bit. Has he got enough of a gap to potentially hold onto this lead, especially with Fabian now trying to hold onto this spot quite aggressively? Look at the gap that Mazomo's already pulled with his little side-by-side through 2 corners.
Side-by-side in the final kink, where it is a little off camber. And they're not flat out through turn 1 at all. Requires braking application. Fabian wants to hold around the outside. Brown looking to cut back underneath again and maybe outbrake. Which driver's going for pit entry this time around? Gretsch and Lacey and Brady Buchanan as well.
I was hearing from a couple of drivers pre-race that around 6 laps was around the limit, so they're coming in at the end of 5 laps there, and then 4 laps is it, so thinking 6 to go, they'll come in now. So we'll see everyone in either at the end of the next lap or the following to get a splash of fuel in the car, because there's no way you can make it on just the starting tank of fuel. We'll see the same in AusPass as well, Pro-Am as well.
Very interesting pit lane here, 80km/h speed limit. The pit entry shortcuts hundreds of meters of racing track. I've heard in a Formula V, it's quicker to go through the pit lane than to stay on the racing surface. And there is an Aston. Long way away from where you're meant to be.
Yeah, that was Simon Dwyer having a little bit of a moment through the final corner as he was racing other guys that just drove into the pits. So the advantage he could have had undercutting, or overcutting I should say, he's just lost due to that incident.
So total pit delta is pretty low here at Silverstone with all of that included, and it kind of means that the leaders can pit a bit earlier if they want to, because they're less likely to end up in as much traffic. Brown trying to fox one way, fox the other. He won't get into the hen house.
Here comes Mazomo.
Yep, leader pits. He'll be very happy to see these two staying out, battling each other. He has a chance at undercutting them potentially. Don't think anyone's taking tyres based on how difficult the cold tyre warm-up looks like it is on these cars.
Yeah, I think if anyone's taking tyres, it's just due to an error as opposed to anything else. I can't see tyres being the way of maintaining pace and maintaining track position. These two at the front are the only two that don't look like they're going to pit on this lap. Everyone else has come into the lane. Hilton Booth, Michael Spithill, Swanpole, Mazomo, Vandenberg, Batty, Bentz. Everyone is in that didn't pit on lap 1 except for these two drivers. And out comes Mazomo.
Yeah, looking at around 12 seconds or so of fuel for basically everyone up and down the field. So there's Mazomo back out into third. You would assume net race leader based on what Fabian and Brown have been doing, which is fighting each other. Brown hasn't gotten past and blazed away with the pace that we saw from him that he had in race number 1. Brown queuing up the radio like he's worried he's not going to make it to the end of this lap. Lift and coast.
Also,
Show us.
Also just seen that there's been a penalty for speeding in pit lane for Jason Bentz, so he's dropped a long way back as well. Stuart Brown and Gregory Panton have taken long pit stops, so they are in a little bit of trouble as well. May have taken tyres by mistake. Maybe just coasting it around a tiny bit on this one, hoping for a very quick stop though, Fabian and Brown.
it's never great when you're in this situation following someone else into the pit lane, because if they're not gutsy about getting down to 80 k's an hour, you're single file, you're stuck in that traffic behind them. So into the lane goes those two. Brown really coasted into the pit entry as well. And here is Mazomo looking to loop around them, has to go this long way on the racing track through Vale and Club.
Notice that Mazomo's at this point now. Brown still isn't in his pit box, is he? Actually, it's not picking up his pit stop time. That's unfortunate. There we go. 1 second longer stop for Timothy Febin, and he loses the lead.
So where are they? There's Febin. Brown.
Seth Brown's only just stopped. He did run out of fuel coming into the lane.
So he didn't find his pit stall. He ran out of fuel. Couldn't get it down the lane at any speed. And he's only just... And then he's taken 21 seconds of service. So horror pit stop for Seth Brown. It's looking like he's going to spend more than twice as long in the pit lane. Not in the pit box, in the pit lane total as anyone else. So here's him running out of fuel on pit entry. Meant to be doing 80 k's an hour. You can see the Porsche in front is doing 80 k's an hour, and we are not.
Yeah, that's slowing pretty quick, isn't it? He's lost so much time from that.
S on the keyboard, bump the starter.
You can see the car jolt, so he's obviously bumping the starter to try and get it closer. I think he's probably happy he started in 10th for this race, because if he had started in first...
He's using the starter, isn't he?
Yeah. He had no choice, and he just made it.
Oh, that's where half of the time went, and then once he got there, he's either overfueled it or changed some tyres as well. So Seth Brown rejoins in 10th under pressure from 11th, and if he's on cold tyres, Brady Buchanan really could put some pressure on him. Batty and Hardigan are 6th and 7th, and both of them horror race one, so they're 13 and 16 positions gained, respectively.
Been a lot of big movers in the field, hasn't there? There's been a lot of drivers making their way forward. We've just seen that Simon Dwyer's had a bit of a shocker, and he's ended up leaving the race after we saw that issue for him earlier. Jason Bentz also hasn't returned to the circuit after his pit stop, so he's had some issues as well. Hardigan here looks like he's got a lot of momentum, a lot of pace behind him. He just can't quite get the move, and Lee Vandenberg coming on the scene very, very quickly.
I think the long runs could be to the favour of the Mercedes with just how undrivable they look on cold tyres. Or Hardigan will be hoping so.
Just trying to see exactly what happened to Simon Dwight. Looks like he's had a technical issue and had to abandon his race. So that's pretty unfortunate for him, because you did have that bit of bad luck with that spin midway through. Lee Vandenberg has closed into these guys very, very quickly, hasn't he?
Yeah, like a hawk. And another just difficulty picking up the traction for Matt Hardigan, who's now a little boxed in. Vandenberg so now boxed in to have to go around the outside here. Three-way fight, 6th, 7th, 8th.
Comes Hardigan. Oh, big defense from Vaddy, and Hardigan could lose a spot with that loss of momentum. It's a good little fight going on here.
Yeah, indeed. Vandenberg.
Oh, no.
Oh. Ooh. Who found that wall in F1 a couple of years back? Kvyat? His
Yeah, I
last
think
season?
so, yeah. I think you're right. That was a pretty heavy hit with the wall there. Let's say Vandenberg also has gone slow. So is he feeling like he's been involved in that somehow and caused that incident and redressing, or
Did he get a slowdown from cutting to
potentially?
avoid it?
Yeah, maybe a slowdown, yeah.
I'd just cut the track to not get involved in that and serve however many seconds of slowdown it is rather than end up in the wall.
Matt Hardigan just rejoining the track now. But Sam Batty's car looking very, very worse for wear. He's going to struggle to bring that back around. He's going to try and finish the race, though, which is always good to see. We could be on the last lap of the race here, too, I believe.
It's close. I think you're right, though. It might well be. Tell you what's crazy is the six-way fight over 12th position.
I didn't see this one on my timing. It wasn't lining up for me. Wow, this is crazy.
Kyle Gretsch in that Mercedes, who's just got around Adam Hill Motion in the McLaren. Oh, and there's a tiny bit of contact and a slide from Neil Gladwin. And they're 3 wide back there. Now Gladwin wants to get his nose back into it as the Aston goes slowly of Gerard. It's crazy. They're all here, though.
They are. They're all wanting to get involved. I can see Barney holding a white flag, so I'm thinking we are on the final lap of the race as well. He's not waving the flag, but he's definitely holding a white flag. Oh, Gladwin with a huge... Sorry, that's Gerard with a huge dive. Made it work.
There's a bit of contact up front. Oh. Oof. Kyle Gretsch. We have seen a couple of spins from just a little bit of contact when there's a big concertina in these packs in the slower corners. But, well, the pit stops worked out for him. The running out of fuel for your race 1 winner worked out for him. And it should be a checkered flag awaiting Simon Mazzomo in the feature race of Pass 2, and it is, with Timothy Fabian behind and Jacques Swanpool quietly tracking towards a podium.
Brady Buchanan trying to recover after that incident early on, and Seth Brown trying to get some redemption for that pit stop error. This is 8th and 9th. 2 corners to go. Who's going to hold on?
Oh, here we go. Hill Motion around the outside. Pat Gallo looks to have speed in the Porsche. 3 wide behind this. They can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves in these GT4 cars as Maguire, Gerard, Gladwin, Hardigan, Paul Longworth all fights it out to the finish of race number 2.
That was a fun first race for the season. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch the entirety of this season as it goes on. But what a way to start. And the results coming up on screen in just a moment. But Mazzomo picking up the win in race number 2 with Timothy Fabian, James Swanepoel, and then Hilton Booth and Michael Spithill rounding out the top 5. Lee Vandenberg, Sean Lacey, Seth Brown, Brady Buchanan, and Mark Cochran rounding out the top 10.
And as you look at these times, bear in mind how close all of these packs were, even if they were almost a minute away from the lead. You love to see in a category like this when the drivers who are finishing 15th aren't having a boring 15th, they're having a very exciting race with Batty, Gallo, Hill Motion, Aaron Maguire, Matthew Gerard, Neil Gladwin, Matt Hardigan, Paul Longworth, Robert McGrath, Stu Brown. I mean, just look at those gaps. Maguire to McGrath. Great stuff. And a couple of other cars like Kyle Gretsch had speed and couldn't put it together. Greg Panson and retirements, it looks like, for Bentz and Dwyer. Then we're going to come by and chat to us, or do we need to move quickly?
Helps if I turn my mic back on. If someone does want to come and have a chat to us, we do have to move over to the next race, but someone does come in, we'll quickly have a chat to them while we check out qualifying for Pro-Am, which is coming up next here on SimSpeed. Make sure you stick with us. We've also got a couple of prizes to give away in the next little bit as well, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with a little giveaway for one of the drivers in Pass 2.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
Two exciting GT4 races from Pass 2 complete, and we move along the order to simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series, the top category for us. Before we do that though, new sponsor on board for this season, Super Cheap Auto, providing us with some gift cards to give away to our competitors. And for our Make It Super cheap auto award for pass 2. It's going to James? I thought it was Jacques Swanepoel.
Jacques. Why did I do that? It's been a long day.
Our number
Jacques
19 car, Jacques Swanepoel, one of the Mercedes AMGs, for the most positions gained in finishing the night with a podium. So from 18th on the grid to 5th in race 1. A lot of positions gained in a short 10-minute race 1, and then making better of it and making it super in race 2 and getting to a podium. So $20 gift card heading his way. And we've got another one coming up for Pro-Am as well. And they're qualifying right now.
They are. Qualifying is already underway. 3.5 minutes to go. And at the moment, Luke Turner leads the way. He's doing everything he needs at the moment. Got around about a 1/10 of a second advantage over everyone else.
So into the big boy GT3 cars now. Again, lots of models of vehicle available, from Mercedes to Porsches, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all of that good stuff. And these should be the top of our drivers as well. And trying to maximize their qualifying into their 2-race format tonight. Just squeaking underneath the 2-minute mark in these cars, with more horsepower, wider track, and also a bunch more grip as well. Some familiar names up the top, though, of qualifying at the moment, with Jeff Connell, Ross Rizzo, Sebastian Flock, Lachlan Capel, etc. Very, very familiar to previous viewers of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. It's a strong grid of them as well. I see more than 40 cars.
It looks like 42 drivers have showed up for round 1, which is awesome to see, as always. Just saw Lachlan Capel jump up the timing sheet. He was telling me earlier that will be an interesting start to the night, with the first race potentially going 6 laps, depending on how the race pace plays out. So we've got to keep an eye on that, although qualifying pace is a little bit slower than where he was expecting it to be, looking earlier around about the 1 minute 59.5 mark when we get into race trim after qualifying. So yeah, it's going to be interesting whether we get that 5 or 6 lap race.
True. We'll need the first flying lap of the race to be pretty quick as well, and the drivers to then average underneath 2 minutes for that to be possible. I've seen Ross Rizzo in a bunch of different cars throughout the seasons. In an Audi this time. He was in a BMW last time, wasn't he?
Yeah, before that he was in a Lamborghini the season previous.
Yeah.
He goes P2. Have a look at the gap though, 12 thousandths of a second off P1.
Yeah, exactly. Very close. Half a second. Takes you from the current pole sitter down to 14th place. John Merritt, always one to watch. Currently 5th. He's halfway around his lap, so he'll be lucky to finish this one, Jay.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite going to make it. He's going to be very, very close, but he might be just a little bit short. Who's on a good lap is Funslow at the moment. We'll see what he can do on this lap, but it doesn't look like it's too bad. He'll make it to the line pretty much as the last driver across the line, so this is going to be very, very interesting. Really jump up from 9th, maybe get himself into that top 5.
Yeah, and he is running out of time as he's got to slow it down.
Oh, he might not make it.
Turn it back to club. Or I don't think he's going to, Jay.
No.
I think he's going to fall just short. And I think he knew it. Well, that's qualifying done, which sets our grid into the opening sprint race of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series for...
Capel stole it right at the end, by the way.
There you go. Lamborghini on pole from Luke Turner, Ross Rizzo, Jeff Connell, John Merritt, and Sebastian Flock. Our top 6. And this grid will keep going Jordan Peter, Seb Varndell, Adam Funslow, Brandon Groch, Brock Kelly, and Richard Mitchum to the first 6 rows. Matt Bailey, Brady Stanley, Brandon Levin, Glenn Riddle, Ben Jeffrey, and Chu Kang. Scott Hassler, Daniel Fleming, Nick Wood, Colin Schwecke, Benjamin Johnson, Adam Jepson is 24th, and about middle of the field, because we've still got Christopher Henn, Steve Tonkin, Ian Jordan, Richard Brookfield, Jeffrey Wang, David Baz in 30th, Dale Carpenter, Thomas Leprake, Ashley DeVries, Hamish Cleland, Tyson Hanma in a Ferrari there, and Ben Pollock 36th. We're about to get to the end of the drivers with qualifying times, which is Sam Lehman, Phil Audie, Ben Holiday, Caleb Bellack, and Jamie Blackman. Derek Audie has no qualifying time.
He's the only driver that missed out on a time as well, so 41 of the 42 drivers actually putting in a lap within that short 15-minute session, so they've done very, very well. As we said, 10 minutes on the clock. Will it be 5? Will it be 6? Probably a 5-lap race. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Depends where the 10 minutes starts counting down, doesn't it? Which
yeah, very good point.
Be as the green flag drops. So where will the leader be when the green flag drops? Me wonders. Because there's a potential for them to be a little bit further around than the timing line, or there's a potential that they're a little short of it. We'll all find out shortly as the Porsche safety car goes to pit lane, and your pole sitter is not in a hurry. The rest of the field will not be well formed up by the time the leader does get to the starting line out of club corner. I'm looking. Time hasn't started counting yet. Now the green flag drops. And it does. This is looking like a 5-lap race to me. They're 3 wide in the second row, heading down and towards turn number 1. Your leader, no worries for Lachlan Capel, but it is a car park behind. 3 wide with the ILEC Lamborghini sandwiched in the middle there. Inevitable, a little bit of door banging. The GT3 cars seem to be much easier to handle on the cold tyres though. 3 wide, so deep in the field on this opening lap. That's the advantage of strong qualifying, is you're not in this, you're up front and maybe stretching away. Headlights come on for all the cars on our opening lap.
Seen Derek Audie unfortunately won't take the race start, as with Ben Holiday as well, having some technical issues. So both those guys not taking to the start. Matt Bailey trying to get himself back forward. Richard Mitchum there as well. Just noticed Benjamin Johnson also is really slow. He's dropped all the way back down the field.
Front right's damaged on the Audi. Bear Motorsport car. Nose is damaged on Ferrari there. Oh, a bit further back in the field. It's been a little bit more going on. Capel leads half a second from Luke Turner, half a second from Jeff Connell. A little bit less to Rizzo, and he's got John Merritt all over him for 4th and 5th as they're about to complete their first lap.
Merritt and Rizzo very, very tight in that 4th and 5th position. 8 minutes on the clock. They're still not even close to the finish line. So, yeah, definitely a 5-lap race. Unless we start to see some lap times in the 158s, we're not going to see a 6-lap race here. So, should be pretty safe with that 5. As Matt Bailey, he was the driver we saw offline there down the front straight. He's had a slowdown penalty out of the last corner and had to give up maybe 7 or 8 positions there. He's still giving up time.
They're always tough on the opening laps because the benchmark isn't there, and it always errs on the side of making you give up time. So it drops back very much into this congested section of the race. Ooh. Chu Kang it was in the Ferrari just in front, struggling for grip. It's a little, you know, Commodore on the mountain in the 80s, isn't it? I think Nick Wood made a move, didn't he? And is looking for another one. Oh, but that won't do it. It's a much cooler track than we saw earlier, so it's a bit snappy. It should be quick, it should be grippy, but it is a little snappy. Nick Wood under pressure now. Oh, and they're around behind. Nice. You need to replay a Tonkin. That was pretty skilled. Oh, but not so much as the car park forms in the slow corner. Two stopped BMWs. Cars spearing either side around it. Oh. Business, I believe they say he's done himself a mischief.
That's painful for Jordan.
Made a quick lane change and turned across another driver and spun himself into the wall.
Asking you shall receive.
All right. This is an early contender for most making it super. So here we go. Gets helped around and no worries. I got
that's
it.
Beautiful. And once he straightened it up, he only lost a couple more spots. He didn't lose too many after that. So good bit of driving.
It all starts because he checked up for a car that was spun in front of him. So he slows up a little bit. He's got a half slide going on. He gets just a little kiss that sends him all the way around into the 360 and just steers it out straight perfectly. And because the other cars were slow in front of him already, he didn't really lose anything. Just a little tap there between John Merritt and Ross Rizzo, 4th and 5th. The top three are getting away, and I think John Merritt smells that.
He wants to make sure he doesn't lose too much ground on those leaders, does he? He knows that the fight for the lead is still on. They're not dropping from Sebastian Flock and Jordan Peter behind either, so you've got to be careful not to fight too hard, but we know how talented and how good these drivers are, but how much they want those positions each and every race too, so they're not going to be giving up anything in this fight.
What have we got? A top 10 invert for our 40-minute feature race after this. So that's Brandon Grotch at the moment. Oh, that's a replay down. Yeah, Ian Jordan is the black Porsche. At the time I said what I saw.
It's just wrong place, wrong time for him, isn't it? He did nothing wrong, but just unfortunate with how that incident had played out. John Merritt wants his spot bad, but he just can't find the way through.
Yeah, is he going to have a good enough slipstream on the hanger straight this time? We're looking from the next car behind, Sebastian Flock. Got his dad, Simon Mazzomo, cheering on from the sideline.
Simon Mazzomo got called one of the best nicknames I've ever heard during Max Bance by Aero on Saturday night. He got called Simon Mozzarella. I think it's highly appropriate.
Sure is. Which is stringier?
I know which one's cheesier. Jeff Connell's just made his way past Luke Turner as well. That was through turn 2. That's an unusual spot. Just while that was happening, I was loading up another replay because Jeffrey Wang's been involved in a huge incident at the final corner as well. So quickly look at this.
Yeah, and see Stefan Tonkin actually is just left of frame there. And, well, the sequel's never as good as the original, is it? It's quite as graceful, tough to reproduce his earlier glory. They're on the final lap, knowing that this pays points and sets the grid.
Well, that's a big mistake that Turner made there. He just went in way too deep into turn 1, left the door open at the exit of turn 2, and through goes Jeff Connell. And we know how good a driver Jeff Connell is. You can't give up those spots like that.
Jeff Connell in the black Porsche this time around. Capel still looking to bring home a win here. Rizzo still under pressure from John Merritt. Final lap, final opportunity. You want to put them offline.
Oh, Connell's made a mistake.
He's held on. You want to put them offline through there, though, to try to outbrake into this next section of corners. But not happening behind. And Capel will take this to the first win of the season in Oz Pro-Am. He's pretty happy with it. As the rest of the field, very close, very competitive, all the way through to the top 10, where it looks like the 10th is going to Brandon Groach.
Yep, not the winner of AM though. Sebastian Vandal wins AM class, so good job from Vandal, but Capel too fast for the first race. We do it all again in just a couple of minutes' time. There's still battles going on back in the field. It doesn't look like we'll see any positional changes. The entire field separated by under a minute, all 40 finishers, 40 starters, and 40 finishes, despite heavy damage you saw at the front of that shot there. I think that was Caleb Ballack with that damage. No, it's Jamie Blackman with all that damage to his Ferrari. So plenty of cars with a fair bit of damage, but we made it through. Made it through okay.
Yeah, that's going to need more than just new control electronics for race 2. That's how they finished the race 1. And remember, your top 10 get inverted for the grid of race 2. Capel, Connell, Turner, Rizzo, Merritt, Flock, Vandal, Kelly, Peter, and Groach. And Vandal and Groach, the AM category drivers inside of that top 10. So they'll be very thankful for that result and where it places them for race number 2. Look quickly through the rest who are going to start race 2 in these positions: Funslow, Mitchum, Stanley, Riddle, Clevin, Fleming, Kang, Hassler, Trekkie, and Brookfield. Baz, Cleland, Liprake, Wood, Bailey, Lehman, Blackman, Belleck, Hen, and Jepson. Still super close all the way through this field. It's a big grid and it's a very, very closely competitive grid with Jeffrey, Hanna, Tonkin ending up 33rd, but definitely making one of the highlights of race 1. Pardon me, Johnson, DeVries, Wang, Carpenter, Pollock, Phil Orty, and Ian Jordan. Is that everyone?
That was it.
Okay.
That was everyone that started the race. We had two that didn't take the start, so... Now, because I messed up that graphic before, I'm going to redo it so that way it makes it right. So let's try this again.
Drum roll for poor Jacques Swanepoel.
There we go. That looks better.
My name is Jacques Philippe. Welcome to Montreal. Great performance from him, though, in those GT4 cars. He made it super. I tell you what, it's still going to take a lot in this upcoming race for me to think anyone but Tonkin. He's an early nose ahead in that run.
We're going to decide who's going to win it from the next race too. I'm not looking forward to that. It's going to be difficult to work out who we're going to give it to because, we've got a 40-minute race coming up and it's going to be action-packed the whole way through with such a tight field. Now, I want to apologise to the drivers as well. The ticker and the graphics were supposed to show the classes coming up separately, but for some reason, some goofball didn't code it right, so it's not working properly. So it'll be fixed for next week. That goofball, of course, was me.
If you hadn't said it, I was going to
I'll just
guess what's going to happen to that goofball in question.
I mean, I think everyone realised that when I said that it was me, so...
What do we do then, Jay? Do we take a tiny little break for the 2 minutes before they're going to grid up? For
we got 2 minutes. I think we should. We'll take a quick break.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Well, we're all set now for the feature race, the opening round of the simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series. Taking a look at the weather again, a little gusty, changing direction, but certainly cooler and a little darker than before. Nope. That track temperature was from where someone spilled their coffee. The air temperature 21.6, the track temperature just about the same. With our drivers gridding up from 11th place on back, they're where they finished race number 1, but inside of that top 10, they've been inverted, which gives the AM category driver, Brandon Groach, the outright pole position from Jordan Peter, Brock Kelly. Seb Van Dal was the AM winner. He still starts out of a very respectable 4th on the second row. And then Flock Merritt, and we get in towards our podium from race 1. Ross Rizzo was Luke Turner, Jeff Connell, Lachlan Capel. You can see Funslow and Mitchum finished 11th and 12th, and they start 11th and 12th. Pit stop strategy, always a pretty significant factor of these longer 40-minute races as well.
Yeah, 100%. The pit strategy is going to be a big, important factor in how this race plays out. We know that the drivers will need to pit at some point likely going to be 2 pit stops required. So when do you take them stops? You obviously want to try and run it as long as you can in this first phase, and then come in as late as possible in the second phase. So yeah, making sure that your time when your pit stops come out, or when you do your pit stops, I should say, very, very crucial and key in this series.
I'll bet my life on it. This is a 19-lap race.
Your life on it?
No. I'll bet a biscuit on it. Green flag drops with 40 minutes on the clock, and from the outside row, Jordan Peter in the Lamborghini, a great run, looking to swoop around the outside of turn 1 and maybe lead the race. Jordan Peter holding his own well in the BMW. Very cool track. Drivers trying to find a little bit more tyre temperature. A couple of Ferraris off in turn number 1, but decent start so far as the field really, really compresses into these slow 180-degree corners that make up the new opening sector of Silverstone.
John Merritton said Flock have had a really good start, got away very, very quickly. Adam Jepson was the Ferrari you were talking about that had that little spin right at the start as Grotch holds onto the lead. Jordan Peter trying to get through, couldn't do it. Brock Kelly comes and cuts him off, but Sebastian Vandel got through and now steal second place away. You got AM drivers leading the field at the moment.
Oh, it's carnage behind. Oh, it really is. Adam Funslow sideways. And the whole field really struggled to get through, and Glenn Riddle as well. And it happened high up the field as well, so there were 20, 30 cars that had to work their way through that. Roach still leading. From Vandel, who's had a storming start. Yam driver now up into second. Jordan Peter, Brock Kelly, third and fourth. Capel making a few from 10th to 7th as well. And Scott Hasler goes from 18th to 12th for this opening one. This is the battle for the AM lead, and it's the battle for the outright lead between Vandel and Groach. And Vandel's had a big sticky beak down the inside. Unfortunately, down the inside, but that becomes the outside at this next sequence of corners. He's not afraid to really run in deep there, and the two of them making a hand driver roadblock to the pros behind. Oh!
Wow.
His Merritt, massive turn of speed, looking to get around a few cars as well down towards turn number 1. He's up into 4th outright.
This just feels like something big is about to happen in this group, doesn't it? Feels like the whole pack is about to get real messy, really aggressive. Brandon Grotch losing the lead there, and a little bit of contact in the back of Brock Kelly. Vandel's out of the way too, and here comes Merritt.
Yep, Merritt into 3rd there. Well, certainly super close, and a storm brewing for sure. Darkness continuing to fall over Silverstone for this 40-minute race into the evening. Roach still leading. Kelly's looked quick in that Porsche.
Capel just got past Ross Rizzo as well.
Now, Lamborghini's not looking bad at the moment. There are some track limits at Cops, apparently. We'll wait if we see them, but Merritt was very, very quick through there into this part. Kelly looking for a pass in a place one might not have been. Bellick out front of this. Oh. Yep. Such a challenging corner turn 1 because they all get close in the slipstream, but then it's not really a big enough braking zone. This is from before, as the circuit gets blocked with Funslow and others.
Oh, this is interesting. So Rizzo,
Jeff Connell.
Yeah, Jeff Connell in, and was it Ross Rizzo coming as well? No. Oh no!
There it is. Brock Kelly sideways, others as well. Is that Capel?
Yeah,
Vandel?
it is. Yep.
Damage. Oh, big damage on the Lamborghini, and he's a whole lap away from the pit entry as well. Bits hanging off, suspension not great, and there's been a conflagration in the final corner for some of our big runners.
Conflagration? What is that word?
Well, I know how to say it. Goodness if I know how to spell it.
I don't even know how to say it, as you could tell there, but this is... Oh, okay, so a mistake for Kelly. Look at, you see Merritt just getting away from that. Oh, Capel, nowhere to go. Van Dal, nowhere to go either. Wowee. That's heartbreaking.
It's the first time I've seen that part of the rear bumper accidentally removed off a Lamborghini Huracan, not deliberately removed to try to fit twin turbos in.
John Merritt's ended up losing ground after that incident as well, so something happened to Merritt later on. Oh, he had to slow down to serve after the incident because he ran so wide to avoid contact. He actually had to serve a slowed down down the Wellington Straight, and he's lost himself around about 8 or 9 positions. So now he's behind Chu Kang, who finds himself in the top 10.
Yeah, indeed. That's 10th place right there with Chu Kang, and then Merritt. Rizzo's done pretty well out of all of it. Brandon Groach still in the outright lead of the race, having finished 10th overall as an AM driver in race 1 and really taken and run with that track position that the inverted top 10 gave him. Not many drivers coming to pit entry to cover off Jeff Connell. There's one from Brandon Levin. I don't think his spec map matches the rest, if I'm honest with you. But other than that, it looks pretty good. Luke Turner's in. Hamish Cleland in as well. So some early fuel stops here. Is it going to be a 2-stop race like previous seasons?
Yeah, it should be a 2-stop race for everyone, which means that it's going to be hard for the likes of Capel to come back after where he is. He's had to escape back to the pits. He's going to find it very, very difficult to get any worthwhile points out of this. Brandon Groch at the moment, he's doing a fantastic job leading this race. He's led every lap. He's looking quite composed and quite confident there, but once those headlights of that Audi in the background of Ross Rizzo start to close up and get a little bit bigger, I don't know if we'll be able to say the same, but if you can hold on that spot from Rizzo, that's a remarkable drive. Rizzo is the master of these GT3 cars.
And also, consistently across this championship in previous seasons, a big battle of the big brains strategy-wise between Rizzo and Connell, both of them able to save a lot of fuel, do strategies others can't, and that works out well in this style of racing with multiple pit stops sometimes and really, really close on-track pace as well to go with it. Shameless fan service, Jay. Thomas Lecrae's in 14th in the Mercedes, behind the ILEC Lamborghini of Richard Brookfield. Got Sam Lehman, who's got a new livery on to match the new branding.
I only saw the fan support in the YouTube chat after I went to the battle. I saw that he was closing in nearly side by side just before we went to that battle, so doing a very good job. Also just seen that Jordan Peter has lost a spot coming down the back straight, the hanger straight, to Richard Mitchum. John Merritt's decided he's coming into the pits. No point continuing on.
It doesn't surprise me greatly to see Merritt, who might have found himself a little further behind than what his pace deserved and has kind of looked like he's struggled to make passes in that Mercedes. It's been quick, but maybe not at the end of the straights, which is what you need if you're going to get past someone. Think about how long it took him. Tokyo Drift for the Lamborghini, and Jordan Peter can't save it. Oh, I thought he was going to. No, don't. No. Are you...
I thought he was going to be beached. Now, we know that there's a lot of strategy involved in the pit stop games. There's a race within a race within the pit stops. There's strategy within the strategy. So the 2-lap earlier pit... Was it 2 laps? 1 lap earlier pit stop. 2 laps earlier for Jeff Connell has meant that he's put in 3 seconds less of fuel. Does he need to save that? Or will he have to put in 3 seconds more fuel when it does come time for his pit stop?
Be a bit of both, won't it? He's looking for some good track position in this middle stint when everyone else pits.
When I
which
asked you that, I
expect
wasn't expecting you to literally have an answer
to be
because
about now.
I knew that you wouldn't know, just like I didn't know.
Here's Rizzo closed up on the race leader. Solid chance of a run on pit lane this time by as well. Flock, Mitchum, Hassler not far behind. Hassler up into 5th, having started 18th, is very interesting. It's just a few cars pitting. Colin Schwecke. That cameraman is able to see through buildings to know where the car is.
He's pretty skilled, that guy.
Wow. And Jeffrey pitting too. So this lead remains.
Flock looks pretty content there, just watching that battle ahead, and almost like he's waiting for Rizzo to go through, and then he'll try and follow Grotch on by. Follow Rizzo on by Grotch, I should say. He doesn't look like he's trying to put pressure on Rizzo for the move. He's just content, sitting back a little bit and waiting for the move and the position to open up.
Rizzo looks to pass, looks to get down the inside in the left-hander, not all the way clear for the long right-hander, so they're side by side for the lead of the race. Trying to pass is Rizzo, but it definitely benefits anyone who's already pitted, like the Jeff Connells of this world. The fact that Rizzo and others maybe being held up a little bit now in this phase of the race around the outside of Copse Corner. I've watched Formula One, you can't do that, but Rizzo is now in the lead of the race, and like you say, Flock wants to follow.
Definitely does. He wants to get that position. Mitchum's also closed up very, very quickly. He set his fastest lap of the race on that previous lap, one of the fastest laps of the race overall. So he's got some great pace at this present stage. Actually, looks like that last lap was the fastest lap of the race there for Richard Mitchum. So Mitchum in the black and fluorescent yellow Porsche. He's gaining ground very quickly.
Hey, what's Brandon Groch's fastest lap of the race to this point?
It's a 9.99.999, I think.
Yeah, ask rhetorically. He hasn't had a clean one in this race, interestingly. Yeah, big check up, slowing down to 80 kilometers an hour to get into the pit lane, and everyone's doing it now. So we look at Jeff Connell, who pitted very early, took a little splash, looking to maybe... Actually, no, I think he will be outright out front, and it's all going to be about the fuel debt that he owes coming into the second stop. So I really would expect Connell to go through into first place after his first round of pit stops, but need to pay some of it back the second time around. There he is now leading. Rizzo is going to come out of the pit lane into second.
5.5 seconds slower pit stop. Gap between Connell and Rizzo, 4.5 seconds.
A bunch of them have jumped Groch through the lane as well. John Merritt's right back in the middle of all this traffic. Stopped 2 laps earlier than everyone else to try to get out of some, and he's sandwiched in here. Got a Porsche on his outside, but Brandon Groch just behind that. But he is behind Brandon Levin, who stopped 3 laps ago. Luke Turner, who stopped 3 laps ago. So if you look at how much fuel is in, it's looking good for Rizzo and Flock, but a 5-second lead for Jeff Connell. With a 5-second fuel deficit, he can make this work as well with clean air aplenty at the lead of the race. Suddenly, you look at third on back, and it is so congested here.
The other part of that as well...
Stops at advanced service. Show Thomas Leprake in the grass.
Yeah, I just saw him dropping down the timing sheet, but I didn't know if I wanted to show it. But we might have to show a replay. One thing I was going to say as well, Jeff Connell has the advantage in that he has less fuel in the car, so therefore should be able to do faster lap times than Ross Rizzo at the moment. So Rizzo is going to have that disadvantage, but then of course that advantage will come back once Jeff Connell comes into the pits earlier.
So that's now second, third, fourth that you look at here.
We're going to have to get a replay of the Prate because he was helped.
Oh no.
The 92 car tucked in underneath and just gives a little clip. 92 of Tyson Hamner. Makes just enough contact to spin him around.
It's one of those ones where the racing line is to open up the entry a little bit. You think about maybe not doing that when you've got someone right behind you, but yeah, not sure the door was open into the right-hander.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's...
It's that kind of thing, right? Where as the lead car, you're thinking, will they put their nose in there if I open up one car width? That makes you maybe drive a little defensively, not do that. And that's where someone like Jeff Connell right now can make a great load of speed because he doesn't need to worry about that. He's following his qualifying racing line every lap. Whereas in here, that's not what you're doing. You're worried about the track position. You're worried about what the drivers around you are doing. You know, are they slipstreaming off me? Do I need to defend? Am I going to get held up if I can't pass someone? That's a concern for everyone else inside of the top 10 and maybe why you do that Connell strategy. Rizzo's got a lot of clean air now as well with all of this going on behind.
Just talking about that corner before, you just saw the different line that Sebastian Flock took then, knowing that Luke Turner was potentially close enough to do that exact same move that Tyson Hamner didn't quite get done. He ran the previous corner, the left-hander, a little bit wider on exit, so then he didn't have to flick across to potentially hold the spot. So it's something that you do need to potentially look at. Brandon Grotch still doing a great job leading the AM class, but David Baz in second in AM is in the next group behind him. So we'll get a look at that in a second as Luke Turner gets it done up the inside of Sebastian Flock. Absolutely zero fight at all there from Flock. He's content to just let Luke Turner go. And saying that, he's going to get the spot straight back with a mistake from Turner.
Mercedes, whether they're GT4 or GT3, don't seem to like some of those curbs. Spot Grotch, Spot Chu Kang, and here's David Baz, second in AM. Baz took 14 seconds of fuel, so did Grotch, so there's no pit stop difference to pay out in the second round of stops. Baz has got to close that gap and appears to be doing so. So is that copper? Is it bronze? Is it sunburst orange?
It's nice. I like it. It's a very different color, but I do like it.
Sunset brings that out, and that's what we're talking about for Merritt. He doesn't have any of that clear air. He's right in this with Brandon Levin, sandwiched between Scott Hassler and Mitchum as well, and these are not his best laps. And he is stuck.
Yeah, Merritt will be ruining that decision now. He was looking earlier and thinking, geez, I've done a good job getting some clear air, but he's now come out in a group that he probably won't be too happy about being in at this point. So he'll have to work hard to clear it. Will there be a bit of a strategy switch? Will he come in earlier to come and make that next stop? The interesting mind games go on in this next phase of the race. Gap between Connell and Rizzo, I've been keeping one eye on it. It's fluctuating between 4.9 and 5.3 seconds. So that's about the deficit of the pit stop that Connell has to give to Rizzo, who are the two best fuel-saving drivers in the entirety of the series. So this is going to be interesting to see if anyone can match these guys, considering where everyone else is in the fuel games.
Yeah, you've got two stops. You start with an amount of fuel. You've got to take some extra, to get to the end. It's not dissimilar to some of the supercars sort of 250 kilometer races, is it? Where you've got an amount that you need to drop. You've got two pit stops. So if you do a little less in the first stop, well, you've got to take more at the second stop. And if you take lots at the first stop, you hope that you don't have to take as much at the second stop. By the end of the race, the two stops are going to have to add up to a number. And if your first stop is short, your second one might have to be long.
Christopher Hens trying to make his way back.
Except we don't have Larko running up and down into everyone's garages with a 30-centimetre ruler.
No, we don't. I don't know how that'd go in sim racing, having someone running down a pit lane with a ruler. Christopher Hens trying to make his way back forward. He's had a bit of a rough night. Qualified in 25th, started race 2 in 29th, got back into 26th. So he's trying to make his way forward. And just ahead of these guys is Sebastian Vandal. You just saw him ahead of the shot there. This is Thomas Leprake just ahead of him, who's had that issue from earlier. And Benjamin Johnson, who had an issue early in race 1. So guys that haven't had the best of luck tonight, trying to make their way back forward. And Dale Carpenter, one thing we didn't talk about, but you may have noticed when we showed that replay of the incident right at the start, he was actually facing the wall at the exit of the final corner before they took the green flag. So he's had an incident right at the start where he ended up facing the wrong way.
Well, with 40 GT3 cars, 2 pit stops, there's always going to be something that happens. That's Adam Funslow. So when do you imagine this second round of pit stops kicks off? Because for Jeff Connell, he's going to have to be one of the first to do that, and there's a chance that that puts him into some traffic and it ends up benefiting Rizzo. Here's John Merritt trying to defend from Brandon Levin, with Mitchum and Hassler just behind. 2 cars in front, starting to get away from Merritt a little bit. He hasn't been able to go with, Flock and Turner. In fact, Flock hasn't really been able to go with Rizzo.
No, he hasn't been able to at all. He's really dropped off the back. I'm predicting that the pit stops may be able to start next lap. Remember you said that you're thinking 19-lap race. We had 6 laps in the first... 5 laps in the first stint for most, 6 for some. So take that away. That leaves you with 13. So we're looking at 7 and 6 for the next 2 rounds of groups, or maybe 7 and 7 laps. So Jeff Connell's on his 8th lap. Luke Turner's on his 7th. Brandon Levin's on his 7th. So we might not be too far away from seeing those drivers in for another pit stop.
Ben Pollock, Jeffrey Wang, and Ben Jeffrey. So we've got a double Ben in 20th and 21st.
Not only
and
a double Ben,
that, they're both double N Bens.
Yeah, I was thinking that exact same thing when you just mentioned that. It's we've got a lot of difference with names. I mean, like Christopher Hen with a K, Christopher with a K. It's not your usual list of names, is it? It's good. I like it. Coming from someone that doesn't have a normal-ish name. Where I can just be substituted for a single letter.
I think I'm going to schedule it as Jeff Connell pits. I think on my 32nd birthday, I'll start going by Dave.
32nd? I mean, that's
yeah, I reckon.
way.
I reckon you reach your early 30s and suddenly, you're more of a Dave than a David. I want to see this length of the pit stop from Jeff Connell as he's up on the jacks as well there. This is going to be a very long second stop, and I wonder if that's part of this, because you can do fuel and tyres at the same time. As Connell decided, you know what? If I have a long second stop,
I can take 2.
I can change 2 tyres. Yeah, so 45. And where do I see him on my screen? What position has he come out in?
He's come out in
16th.
16th. That's the exact same pit stop time as Brandon Grotch in that first round of stops. So
yeah.
Interesting.
But it's a stop that's a lot closer to the middle of the race than the first round of stops was. So he's thought this through, has Jeff Connell. He's come out with a little bit of clear air for at least the next lap or 2 as well, which is super important. Imagine if he was 1 second further back and he was in the battle between Tyson Hanmer, Richard Brookfield, and Ben Jeffrey. He'd be handing this one away to Ross Rizzo, but he's rejoined the race just in front of these guys and found just a quiet 3 seconds before he bears down on Stephen Tonkin and Sam Lehman. Some of his key competition might be just starting to battle each other a little bit here as well. I think Turner might be getting impatient with Flock.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Turner comes into the pits this lap if he doesn't get it done. He'll try and get through, but if he doesn't, he'll come into the pits, I feel. But, I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Turner stopped early first time around as well, so he's probably going to stop before Flock. Either way.
He pitted exactly 1 lap after we saw Jeff Connell come in, so I think he's going to come in. Yep, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a bit of Windex on the crystal ball. We can still, see what might happen.
And look, Jeff Connell's still got clear air, so let's have a look at the comparison between the two.
Merritt 11 pitted as well, so there's a lot of split up the front of the field. Rizzo continues, Flock continues, but some of those others from the top 5 are in. Sam Lehman's in again too.
Well, Merritt's in a lap earlier. Remember, Merritt pitted a lap later, and that was still a lap earlier than the likes of Rizzo and Flock, so he's gained a little bit of ground. There's Turner out, 2 seconds shorter stop. He's going to be 2 seconds shorter in the lane, exactly 2. So Net hasn't lost too much ground, but in that phase of the stops. But yeah, he's found himself behind. But that gap's still around about the same as what it was before the stops. Not in a good spot though.
No, this is what we're talking about. You sort of rejoin amongst all of this, and these guys got their own fight going on. We've got one more pit stop still to come, and you're amongst them. Turner, Merritt, the second stop done, but behind Brookfield and Ben Jeffrey, you haven't. Brookfield's looking pretty defensive here as well, because he's still trying to square a good exit off.
Richard Mitchum's doing a very, very good job, isn't he? He's sort of just been there the whole race in high positions, hasn't put a foot wrong.
Started outside of the top 10 as well.
Done a very good job. Brandon Grotch still in P5, but you take out those couple behind that have made their second stop, Connell, Turner and Merritt. So that's still net 8th position for the leader of AM. That's a very, very good drive as it is at the moment.
What a unique pit entry it is here. Both of the Ferraris in together, and the driver behind can't attack the entry like they might want to do. Braking from probably 200-ish kilometers an hour to 80. Underneath where the podium is, and looking for where on earth your pit crew are. If you started inside the top 10, then your pit crew have moved from race 1 to race 2 as well.
Yeah, it is the difficult part of this series, is trying to work out where your pit crew are and where your pit box is. Chu Kang, very, very quick pit stop. 10 seconds for the second pit stop. Colin Schwecke, the exact same time. So they've come in nose to tail. They leave nose to tail.
So they do, and then immediately 2 wide. The battle is back on. It's like a Christmas truce, isn't it?
It is. Great to see the battle going on. Good fun fight.
And it'll be an interesting one, because have we got 7 or 8 models of car? We've got a lot. Most of the time, you will be battling against someone in a different model of car to you. But then here, you know where the Ferrari's strong. You know where the Ferrari brakes. You know what the traction is like off slow corners, off fast corners in the Ferrari. Probably makes it actually more difficult to pass. So you've got Connell. It always confuses me that that's the car number, is all that appears in the lower third.
Is that better?
He says, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's less confusing to my brain. Because I looked for him at 4th on my timing screen, and I was like, he's not that high yet. Here is Rizzo pitting. This is so important for who can win this race. On the net strategies, it should be neck and neck. Rizzo and Connell. How much fuel does Rizzo need? I mean, Connell took 14.5. If Rizzo takes more than, 8 or 9, he might be in trouble.
Yeah, well, we think back...
9 seconds.
Yeah, 9 seconds and 9.5. You might be able to get away with 10. Because those last couple of laps that he did were pretty good on pace, but what's it going to be? How's he going to get out of this?
8, 9.2. It'll be neck and neck on that exit.
Close.
Connell's going to sweep through turn 1, and he will be neck and neck with Rizzo, if I'm correct.
There's Seb Flock.
Out.
Rizzo's ahead.
Cuts Rizzo. He's not at racing speed until he gets to the braking zone here. Connell barrels in to turn 3 at speed, and that's the gap for the net race lead. All else still to pit. There's 1.2, 1.3 seconds between Rizzo and Connell, but critically, Rizzo is ahead.
The other part to that is Connell, his tyres are at temperature, and we believe that he's taken 2 fresh tyres in the pit stop as well, so he's going to be really strong come the very end of the race. Rizzo's tyres would have cooled off a little bit in that pit stop, especially with how cool the track has got since the sun has started to set.
Yeah, the wind's still from the south, so it's blowing in all the smell of freshly baked baguettes.
Do they reach that far?
Well, if it's coming from the north, I'd say haggis, so I don't know. Probably not, but it's fun to imagine. Yeah, here's Merritt and Turner, who've both made their second round of stops, and in the middle stint of the race, it's so important to have a little bit of clean air there, and neither of them really got it. Merritt particularly, we know, can be super, super quick, but he just didn't get that clean air based on the slowdown penalty he got right before he then had to pit. A lot of those who haven't made their final stop are coming in now. We're in the final 10 minutes. So from first, second, third, Mitchum, Hassler, Groch are in, and we're going to see Nick Wood as well. And that's about it. We're still waiting on one more from Thomas Leprake, I think. But it sort of sets us up for this final 9-minute sprint to the end. And just Connell have the pace to hunt down Ross Rizzo.
Biggest winner, I feel, out of the second round of pit stops has been Sebastian Flock. Look at the gap that he's now got on John Merritt. He's still behind Connell, but he's sort of right in the middle. He's got clear air ahead, clear air behind. Doesn't have to stress about anything going on around him. He can just race with eyes forward and not worry about these guys that have just come out of the pits. Brandon Levin, Scott Hausler together. Brandon Groch maintains the lead in AM. Car behind him now is the second place AM driver, though, of David Baz, who is now in the top 10.
Sure is. There's a lot happening behind him with Shrek, Chu Kang, Nick Wood, Daniel Fleming, all bunching up for a top 10 position. Chu Kang, how hungry has he been? He's been staring at that 91 on the back of Schwecki since before the pit stop, through the pit lane, out of the pit lane, all this time.
They were nose to tail in the pits as well, weren't they? So they've been together the whole way through.
Need to worry about behind him though. Nick Wood got great drive off the slow corner in his BMW.
Gap for the lead is staying stable around that 1.2, 1.3 second bracket. So Jeff Connell not making as much of an inroad as I thought he may have been able to do.
Yeah, we know that by stopping very early on the first stint, he's had to stop pretty early for the second pit stop. And then that's where you've got a fuel save to make it home from your early second stop. Whereas Rizzo, whether he short fueled it aggressively or conservatively, the reality is there is no fuel capacity to have made it home from where he made his final stop. Connell relaxed early, so it's just the opening without that wind, we think.
And look at the battle pack that's brewing behind. We saw David Baz leading the group, but it's starting to get a little bit more messy. Daniel Fleming's closing in on these guys now too, so Nick Wood trying to get up to the lead of the group to steal second in AM. Chu Kang, Colin Schwecki together, and David Baz leading the group. Group of 5, fighting for a top 10 outright position.
Great, isn't it? Mercedes, Ferrari, BMW, and then Audi bearing down on a lot of them. It's good on a cool track.
Oh no! That's Thomas Leprake.
Decent recovery. He doesn't look happy with it at all. And turns 1 and 2, deceptive. They are so quick. They are not quite flat out. And we've seen a bit of contact.
I think it was Christopher Henn, the car involved there. Potentially.
Yeah, okay, so the drop bear car was in front and it was whoever was behind.
There's Ben Johnson ahead, and this is the 60 of Christopher Henn.
I think Leprake had a bobble on the exit of one. A lot of the Mercedes look like they are through that really, really quick corner.
Turner and Merritt side by side.
Lift early from Merritt.
Five minutes on the clock would be 3 laps to go. Still 1.3 seconds, so as long as there's enough fuel in the tank for both Rizzo and Connell, this is going to be race on at the end, I feel.
Both of them in sort of 2-minute .4s last time around. Here's Chukang trying to cross over, under on Schwecke, not able to do it. And then immediately in a pack like this, you find yourself looking from forward to back at the drivers behind you who've now closed up when you couldn't make your move stick. I think Nick Wood's actually saving a bit of fuel. He had a pretty short stop, pitted the same lap as Fleming and Baz. Hen, third stop.
Is this a penalty?
Incident limit?
Yep. For both Leprake and Hen. They've both exceeded the incident limit. That's unfortunate for Leprake getting that, but that's just part of the racing. Sometimes you don't cause the incident that causes you to get that pit lane drive-through penalty. I must say, one thing I've noticed about Jeff Connell's livery, Jeff Connell's paint, look at the fluoro that sort of appears in his number box because it's trying to light up and illuminate with the lights on.
Huh. It's a very quick drive through here as well, by the way.
Yeah,
so I'm seeing for Hen and Leprake that it was 23 seconds cone to cone. The reality is it's probably only a 15-second loss to serve a drive through here. Spa Endurance, it's a 50-second loss to serve a drive through. Oh, actually, maybe it's closer to 35 or 40, but still, that is more than twice the length of pit lane at that famous GT3 circuit. Then we find here. 2 laps left to go. Field crossing the start-finish line here. Ross Rizzo still just managing a 1.3 second lead. So critical to have Jeff Connell out of that slipstream. If Rizzo had a bobble and lost just 0.3 of a second, I think Connell would be all over him and in a much stronger position.
100%. It's only going to take a little bobble. It's only going to take a curb that he takes wrong. It's only going to take lap traffic at the wrong corner. And they're not far off Lachlan Capel. I think Capel will be okay, but if another driver gets a drive-through and comes out just ahead of them, comes out at turn 2 right in front of them for the braking zone at turn 3, it could change this entire race right at the closing stages.
Yeah, you remember it was sort of 1.1 when Rizzo came out of his last pit stop and set us into the final stint of this race and the run home. And Connell, try as he might, it hasn't changed much at all between them, but he just hasn't been able to move it in the right direction.
David Baz has checked out from this little group that we've been watching too, and Nick Wood and Daniel Fleming are well and truly in it now. So we'll go back to the leaders again in a sec, but this is pretty action-packed. Here comes Kang. Will he be able to do it this time? It's going to be hard.
I think he's got it. I think he's in the best position here to go around the outside of the left kink into the right-hander and then just needs to gather it all up for a good line and a good exit out of the right-handed Chapel corner. Kang finally moves ahead of Schwecke, and there's a couple of other cars that might just keep Schwecke's attention for the final lap. The white flag is going to be ready less than a minute on the clock for what is going to be a 19-lap race, Jay. Ross Rizzo starts the final lap.
Is it lap 19? No, it's lap 20. Sorry, lap 20 of this race.
Really?
Yeah. This is lap number 20. This is lap 20. Rizzo leads from Jeff Connell. Showing up as a 20-lap race for me.
I don't see how that's possible when no one's done a lap quicker than 2 minutes in a 40-minute session and they've had to make 2 pit stops.
Yeah, this is the 20th lap, so they'll finish 20 laps with about 41 and a half minutes on the clock. It's definitely a 20-lap race anyway. Rizzo still leads, and look, Connell maybe just realising, hang on, have I got enough fuel in the tank? He's starting to lose a little bit of ground. It's out to 1.5 seconds and he's dropping ground, but I don't think he has to stress too much about Sebastian Flock behind.
My brain hurts. Jeff Connell's not really worried about those incident points as he uses a 1-up, I'm going to imagine, out of Cop's corner, trying to be close enough to be within slipstream range of Ross Rizzo, but it is not happening this time around. The Audi has the measure of the Porsche. It's a Lamborghini in third, if you don't mind.
And the battle for AM as well is BMW versus Mercedes.
You can have it all in simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series. And of course, as the rounds go on, the BOP only gets more finely tuned to give all of them an opportunity at results. Ross Rizzo takes the win at Silverstone in the pro category. Connell couldn't catch him. They're close behind, though. Flock, Mitchum, Turner, and Merritt finishing 6th. This is the YAM leader. Baz not able to catch him, and they're going to finish 9th and 10th overall.
Yep, and the next car in AM to round out that podium will be Nick Wood, so great job from those guys to finish that off. There's still some battles going on out on track as well. Ben Pollock and Benjamin Johnson side by side. The Ben's going at it. Seeing a car driving into the pits. They've got a black flag. It's Dale Carpenter coming in to serve the black flag. Oh, Johnson comes in way too hot. Turns in on the 96 of Ben Pollock. All of the Bens come together. Which Ben's going to lead at the end? Oh.
Oh, no. They all crossed the checkered flag sideways, but if they got incident points from that and got over the limit before they crossed the line, they'll be in trouble. And same thing's going to happen to Dale Carpenter because he won't be scored as having served his drive-through penalty before he crossed the finish line, and it's going to add maybe a whole minute to him. Watch for that. Watch for Carpenter to get dropped down as the results get calculated. What number have you punched there?
The wrong one. There we go. Yeah, it didn't. There we go. That does, though.
It wasn't even qualifying. I didn't know what it was trying to estimate that out of.
Just a rookie error.
We can be pretty confident the race winner in the 40-minute feature race from Jeff Connell, Sebastian Flock, Richard Mitchum, and Luke Turner, John Merritt, and then Brandon Levin, Scott Hassler. AM drivers Brendan Groach and David Baz can be very, very happy with their performance in that one. I mean, remember how long Groach held on to the outright race lead off the start of this one?
Definitely a good job. It's only the pit stop phase that he lost the lead of the race overall, so should be very, very happy with that. Chu Kang getting that position in the end over Colin Schwecke with Daniel Fleming and Nick Wood rounding out the top 14. They changed positions at the end of that last lap as well, with Hamish Clallan rounding out the top 15, Steve Tonkin, Sam Lehman, Ben Jeffrey, Richard Brookfield, and Tyson Hamner rounding out the top 20.
Yeah, Dale Carpenter did end up dropping a lot and down to 28th place. So don't get a drive-through penalty on the last lap because you can't serve it. That's the lesson, I reckon. Jordan Peter 21st from Ben Pollock, Jeffrey Wang, Christopher Henn, Jamie Blackman, Adam Jepson, Thomas LePrate, Carpenter, Belak, and Ian Jordan 30th. Last car's lead lap were Brady Stanley, Adam Funslow, Benjamin Johnson, Lachlan Capel, and Ashley DeVries. Those are looking like retirements if they're that many laps down, said Vondell, Phil Audie, Glenn Riddle, Matt Bailey, Brock Kelly. Oh yeah, and that's everyone, isn't it?
It is. We got a decision to make now, though, but we'll bring in some people for a quick chat.
No, my mind hasn't changed.
Yeah, I don't think mine has either, but we'll quickly type that out to each other, and I'll let you grab some people to have a chat to.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I do chat with them, you can, wind back the replay to the moment again. We'll find some of our drivers, and we've got our podium from the feature race, which is interesting. Let's grab our winner. Ross Rizzo joins us, off to a great start in a new season. Ross. Oh man, he doesn't like us. Wait, he's back. 1212 Ross Rizzo.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Amateur hour in the commentary box, but not on the track, Ross.
Oh no, that's questionable as well. I worked with the wrong fuel numbers tonight, and was driving on a completely appalling strategy. I mean, any strategy where you're out on your own in clear air with no damage on the car looks pretty good. But yeah, probably wasn't optimized with the numbers that I had. But yeah, look, commiserations to Lockie and John, whoever was involved in that straight line scuffle. It certainly changed the face of the race and made it a lot easier for the likes of myself and Jeff to make our way towards the front without having to take too many risks.
How about the model of car for you this year in the Audi? We've seen you chop and change around, Jeff Connell too. No one wants to stay loyal to a brand.
Yeah, I just feel like overall the Audi is the best package for me at the moment. I didn't do a lot of testing, I'll be completely honest, but I drove it all of last season or most of last season in the official series and just loved it. So thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, the new tire model and whatnot is certainly it's certainly spicy. Those who know about the cold tires and cold brakes will know that it is a bit of a handful, which makes it a great challenge. But the tire drop off as well is a new consideration. We're used to tires just lasting and not having to worry too much about pushing too hard. But these ones, you spin the tires up and you feel it for the rest of the stint. So yeah, certainly going to be interesting to see how the different cars deal with the tire model and everything in between.
There you go, off to a good start. Congratulations. Not as many teammates for you this trip around.
No, I haven't put the call out for GTs this season because, as you know, Trans-Tasman Racing is predominantly a supercar series team, and they're preparing for the upcoming season, which is imminent. So they're getting their heads down. We did the Daytona 24 a few weeks ago. But yeah, that's been the extent of our GT program so far. But yeah, it's otherwise flying solo.
Righto, well, we'll see you again for round 2, hopefully.
All right, thanks very much, Jay and David.
Jay, you ready to take second place? Okay, it's me. With Jeff Connell. Always a unique strategy with you, and delivered you second place. Was more possible, or is that where the Porsche is at right now for round 1?
I thought that's better than where me and the Porsche are at. I felt pretty average all night, so just seemed to jag a lap in quali, and then stay at the front somehow, just being consistent. So, but yeah, I sort of felt like I was struggling all night. I haven't driven or haven't raced a GT3 car since last year, so probably like the end of spring last year. So I felt like I was just hanging on out there.
Certainly a big grid means the possibility of a lot of traffic in a 2-stop race. With the early stop, did it end up actually being a little fortunate for you where you got placed?
No, No, I don't think so. Like, it helped me. I just heard there was a crash on the main straight with that leading group, so it took me out of that. So it might have saved me from crashing out. But no, I got a bit of traffic and not sure if it worked well, but it couldn't have been too bad. Like, I don't think I was the quickest guy, and I ran second, so there's definitely nothing wrong with the strategy.
And of course, the chance to change model of car is kind of out of the window when you run so well in the standings, if I recall correctly. So, is it going to be a love affair with the bug?
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. But it felt good. It felt good when I was testing it. But they're getting up against everyone else tonight. It just I could see where it struggles. So we'll see. Like, you never know. I might not stay in the top 5, so I might be able to change anyway. So we'll see how it goes. And a lot of the races are high downforce this season, so that could make it either better or worse. It'll change it anyway. So hope it makes it better, not worse. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
And 2 tires, yes. Which 2 would you change around here?
Yeah, 2 tires, but I don't know if that. I came out and didn't go any quicker, so yeah, I don't know if that worked. I don't think it worked, to be honest. I didn't do enough laps, didn't do enough practice where I could run long enough to try different scenarios with the tires. So yeah, I don't know if that worked or not. I'd have to back-to-back it. I don't have the time to do big long stints to do that. So yeah, not sure.
Jeff, you're on the podium, and we look forward to seeing more of you this season.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It was great fun. So yeah, thank you guys for the broadcast, and Sam and everyone that puts on this show. It's awesome. The Fixed Setup racing is great. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we had him second place, man. We can go to... Can we go to third? Yeah, we can. Sebastian Flock joins us, third place and the best of the Lamborghinis, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. It was a pretty interesting race. I think race 1 was just all about survival. Hadn't really done many long-ish stints, so I didn't really know what to expect with tyre wear and just how loose the car's going to get. And then, yeah, obviously that huge incident in race 2. I think I went from 9th to 3rd in like half a corner, which was quite nice. But yeah, I was pretty lucky the race ended where it did. I think another 2 laps and the train behind would have caught me, but yeah, I'm quite happy.
Yeah, a bunch of things about these GT3 cars have changed since the last season of Oz Pro Am Sim Series, like the compound of the tires, the pit stop rules. We did see a few people, sort of opt to try to squeeze in a 2-tire change, which never would have happened in these kind of races in past.
Yeah, I think I've done some enduro stuff in last few weeks in different cars, but I think it's best just to run out the tire for the full hour or however long it lasts. It's just that sort of warm-up period takes too long, I feel, and it's just you lose too much time. But yeah, I stuck to keeping all my old tires on, and it somehow worked. So yeah.
Congratulations on the podium. Anyone to thank?
Thanks to everyone at Evolution Racing Team and Logitech G for their awesome support, and yeah, thanks to Sam and all the crew at AusPass, and to you guys for the awesome broadcast.
Catch you around.
Thanks, see yous.
One more to find, and it's one of our best AM drivers. In fact, winner of the feature race in that AM class. Renagroch from Frog Leap Juiced Racing joins us, and I don't think your race was especially boring. The top 10 invert gave you a great grid spot and probably filled up your mirrors for some of those opening laps as well.
Yeah, definitely the first 5 laps, my mirrors were full of those pro cars behind me. I wanted to try and hold on to the lead until at least the pit stops, but unfortunately I couldn't.
A lot of models of GT3 car, they've changed them around a little bit. How's the BMW feeling at this point in time, and if you've got any past experience with it, what's changed?
It's hard to tell what's changed for me. I don't really take notice of the changes that much, but I've definitely struggled. In the practice session, I was really struggling. The rear end was all over the place, and I was complaining a lot to my my teammates, and they were getting a bit annoyed at me. But yeah, in the quali session, for some reason, something else just clicked, and I was able to put the laps together, and the same things for all the races. Overall, it just felt a little bit more understeery to me.
Definitely a lot of competition in category for you. I mean, what did we have? Nick Wood, David Baz, some others that were really quick and you needed to keep an eye on?
I was definitely keeping an eye on Seb Findel at the start. He was all over my mirrors in the first 2 laps. And yeah, David Baz towards the end, I was just trying to manage the gap to him, make sure I could make it to the end. He was definitely keeping me on my toes, that's for sure.
A couple of different race formats with Enduros. We've got Wildcards, etc. coming up for the rest of this season. Is there any in particular circuits, formats, cars you might be looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the second wildcard round, which is Road America with the GTP and the Audi 90 GTO. Don't quite know what car I'll choose for that yet, but I reckon that'll be a good round, and I'm also looking forward to the Nürburgring at the end of the season. I reckon the BMW around there is going to be really good.
All right, I look forward to see you and everyone else there.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll be a good rest of the season. I'd also like to thank a few of ours.
Please do.
I'd like to thank a few of our sponsors. Juice Energy, All Ports Gaming, Toyo Sim, the Pet Door Company, and FH Creative, and all the guys at Juice Energy for allowing me this opportunity. It's been a wonderful race.
Sweet, we'll catch you around with still 9 more rounds of this championship.
Thank you, hope to be back here soon.
What a lovely young man. Spoke to our overall podium, spoke to our AM winner, and about to give away one of the $20 Super Cheap Auto gift cards. Making it super. This move caught our attention. 360. Get on with it. No fuss. Really, really heart-in-mouth moment. Well caught from Steve Tonkin. And he made it super. And hopefully a $20 Super Cheap Auto gift card makes something super for him.
That was a very good save, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think any of us would have even got close to saving that and maintaining momentum and not involving a second incident. I mean, there was a secondary incident afterwards, but we didn't start it. But that was a cool race, a cool night of action, and bring on the next round as we get into Sebring next week.
You know what's funny, having now seen it on board for the first time, is how much counter steer he had in before he got hit from behind. And I think without that, he was spinning off the circuit and into the grass. But with it, it just helped him around into the 360. No worries, I meant to do that. Off he went. So it's funny how it happens like that. 9 more rounds to go. Sebring up next. I know nothing about racing there. Zandvoort, Montreal, Road America, Munich-Court, Hockenheim, Nürburgring. We heard Brendan Groch looking forward to that one in round 8. And, well, Belle Isle will be interesting. A street circuit, and Barcelona to kick it all home. Lots of excitement. Lots still to come in simrigs.com AusPro-Am Sim Series. And I think more Make It Super moments to happen as well. So thanks to simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Echuca Toyota, and Index Designs. We'll see you in a week for round 2 live here on SimSpeed TV.
you do like it.
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate. This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.